Abbott, the nation's largest producer of baby formula, is once again making product at its plant in Michigan. That plant reopened this weekend under new restrictions by the FDA. It comes 4 months after it was closed due to a recall and concerns about bacteria. Now, that shutdown ramped up a nationwide baby formula shortage all across the country. Right now, almost 74% of shelves are empty. Production at the plant will resume quickly, but again, it will take time to fill those shelves. Abbott says it will first start production of special formulas distributed to healthcare providers and then formulas that go to the stores. So with us today is Dr. Angela Hartzell with Cone Health Pediatric Teaching Service, and she's going to be offering some advice for those of you who are looking for feeding options, and she's going to review some do's and don'ts when we're talking about baby formula. Top of mind for parents for sure. So one of the big questions that we get is, how safe is it to switch their formula or brand?
Yeah, absolutely. It is safe to switch brands of formula. Sometimes I tell patients that it's the difference between Coke and Pepsi. So if you have a formula that are equal categories but made by different manufacturers, or even store branded formulas of the same category, they are absolutely safe to use interchangeably. Now, additionally, for babies, as long as your baby does not have a special health care need or severe food allergy that restricts them to one type of infant formula, even various different infant formulas are okay for most babies to switch. So not only brands, but FDA approved infant formula of soy or milk or hydrolyzed are okay for otherwise healthy babies without special medical needs or severe food allergies.
Okay. So with that said, I know a lot of parents are very stressed. They're trying to find that formula. Sometimes they can't find it in time. And the next question is it safe to stretch formula by adding water to that formula?
So that is an excellent question, Tanya. It is absolutely not okay to dilute formula to make it last longer. I know that there is, it might look like a viable option, especially in this time of a formula shortage, but formula is created in a specific ratio of protein and nutrients that are balanced for a baby. And so if you add additional water, the baby may have electrolyte disturbances or require hospitalization because of that imbalance. It can be very life-threatening for babies if their formula is diluted for a significant amount of time.
All right, we want to make sure everybody hears that, because we as adults, we have diluted our own things like lemonade or tea or whatever, that kind of thing. You cannot dilute baby formula. What about those online recipes about making your homemade formula? Those are making the rounds right now. Right.
I've heard about this, and certainly there are recipes from the 1940s that have been making the rounds, and it is, I would say that absolutely not. I would try to stay away from making your own infant formula. Again, that ratio of protein and nutrients and electrolytes that are important for your baby, you may not achieve that same type of ratio, and you may be underfeeding your baby, giving them too much water. And additionally, you may not be able to guarantee that concoction is sterile, and so could provide contamination for your baby and other issues down the line. So I would say, please do not try to make your own infant formula from an online recipe.
All right, so no making your own formula, no diluting formula. So then the next question that parents have is, what about introducing some table food in place of formula? Is that a good option? And if so, at what age, and what's the process with that?
Yeah, so absolutely. Babies, if your baby is ready to receive pureed foods, you can certainly introduce that when your baby is developmentally ready. That usually happens about 4 to 6 months. So if your baby is sitting up on unsupported in a high chair, if they're able to open their mouth in receipt of a spoon, then you can begin introducing solid foods, and solid foods obviously being pureed foods. So the way that you would do that is give your baby, start with like a single food item, so an infant cereal mixed with a little bit of formula or breast milk or water. Try that for a few days, then try another single type of food. And only if your baby is developmentally ready to receive that food by mouth, and it's a pleasant experience for them. I think the amount of food that a baby will take at 4 to 6 months might not be a significant enough to decrease the amount of formula, but it's always a good option if your baby is ready to go ahead and start that process, and it might help at least alleviate some of the amount of formula that they need.
And I understand that there's other kinds of formula, like I'm thinking of the formula that's usually in the can, that kind of thing, but there's also that formula that's liquid formula or toddler formula. Can you substitute your baby formula with those two things?
So I would say the liquid formula or the ready to feed formula is totally fine, as long as it's an infant. If it's for an infant, if it's an infant formula. Powdered or ready to feed, there's really no difference. The powdered formula, you're making it into a liquid. The ready to feed is just something that's has been mixed, pre-mixed, and is ready for your baby to take without any additional modifications. Now, toddler formula is a little bit different. So the nutrients that a toddler needs is different than what an infant would need. However, if your baby is, closer to the 1 year mark, not exactly, you could substitute toddler formula for those babies who are close to the age where you would start using toddler formula anyways. Now, for an infant, I would not use toddler formula.
Right, so 3 months, no, but 11 months, you might be able to start introducing that toddler formula.
Yeah, and if families have questions, they can always reach out to their pediatrician and ask for their advice. But if you're getting closer to that toddler age and you can't find infant formula, I think it's probably okay to for a short period of time to transition to toddler formula.
All right, well, we have more with Dr. Hartzell coming up in just a few minutes. After the break, we're going to talk about the options related to breastfeeding. So you'll want to stick around for that. We'll be right back.